Hey, good morning. I'm doing this for Tanner over at the Sonic Show. I've recently subscribed to him, mainly because of the fact that I see he does very extended reviews on the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books. Basically, he reviews the story arc portions of them, or at least the main story arcs at that time. And one of his most recent ones that I know of that he's done is Sonic Universe 75. But he has also done other ones as well. Now, his second, so far as I know, he's done maybe 4 reviews so far. So that's good. But one thing he kind of mentioned in his second review where he was doing Countdown to Chaos was he didn't know much about what was going on in the comic. He was kind of new at it. And of course, you could tell he's a supporter of Ian Flynn, and that's fine. But I'm pretty sure, just like everybody has mentioned to him in the comments, because this video, which was done 2 months ago, has over 2K of viewers, basically like 2 million viewers, I would assume. So, with that said, though, or maybe 2,000, I don't really know, views, but he's basically got a lot of views on this. So, with that said, like I said, there have been some people in the comment section on his channel where he was on the video for his review of Countdown to Chaos, like Shad Amy Lover and Sonic Amy Lover, along with some others, to try to help get him up to date or give him an idea of what's going on. And that's good. That is really good that people are willing to help him out, which I'm here to do as well. You see Tanner and anybody else at Sonic Show, I can understand and respect that you guys may not know much about the comic overall. I'm someone that, is willing, and I'm someone that, when I hear about this, along with anybody else that's been reading the comics for a while, I'm someone that's willing to come out and help you guys out, help you understand what's going on, give you a clue, get you guys up to date. And I'm one of those I'm one of those fans that can, do that, probably more than anyone at times. Not trying to say anybody else doesn't have more knowledge about what happens in the comics than I do, because a lot of them a lot of them not only subscribe or read the main Sonic comic, but they also read and subscribe to Sonic Universe, Sonic Boom, the previous incarnation of Sonic comics. Like, I'll give you a bit of a history lesson here. They had a Sonic comic that ran for 40 issues based on the second season of Sonic X. Yeah. They had that, and they had a comic that ran for about 30-something issues or more so. There was a Knuckles comic, a Knuckles the Echidna comic. They had that. They had, in the past, they had previous 3-part miniseries comics, 4-part miniseries comics that they would do. They would have, like I was saying, they would have in the past, to really help the comic out. They would have 3-part to 4-part miniseries comics, like based on games like Sonic Quest, which was based around Sonic CD, the Death Egg, if you will. They had 3-part miniseries focusing on Sally and on Tails, and they had their own individual comics. Tails had a 3-part arc, 3-part miniseries, comic book, a 3-part comic book miniseries. Sally had a 3-part comic book miniseries. They had several specials, which they called the super specials, original super specials. Not the magazines or anything, but these were like 48-page comic book specials. They had one called Sonic in Your Face, which was focused on a story arc involving Sally. They had one called Battle Royal, which was the first in the Super Special, and then those ran for a while. Like they had Brave New World. They had a crossover with characters from Image. They did several on the characters when they were kids. You know, they even used a Super Special to be a huge. They even used one of the Sonic Super Specials, original Sonic Super Specials, to be a 48-page continuous part of their adaptation of Sonic Adventure. Yeah. That's true. You heard me right. They used one of the original 48-page Sonic Super Special issues as one of their main parts for Sonic Adventure. That's saying something. They even used the original Sonic Super Specials to do a director's cut of one of the most infamous, if not controversial, if not successful, well-renowned classic miniseries that they had done called Endgame. And that was written by Ken Penders. Endgame, originally, believe it or not, was supposed to be where Sally was going to get killed off. That's right, Penders was actually planning, from what I understand, and from what you can even look up on Google and ask anybody else, Penders was originally planning to kill Sally off because, one, the king was back and there was no real necessary reason, I guess, for her to be there because she wouldn't have that much power anymore, but also kill her off, but bring her back as an animatronic that I think for a few issues they would think was Sally, but then find out isn't, and then just permanently have her killed. And then after the androids destroyed and all that, just permanently have her dead or something. And thankfully, Sega, along with the fan base, and even Archie Comics, well, mostly Sega, along with the fan base at the time, when Sega, according to a lot of fans, gave a damn, well, really gave a damn, said, no, Ken, you're not killing Sally off. These fans don't want you to kill her off. We don't want you to kill her off. You're keeping her in the book. So instead of killing her off, Ken Penders had to rewrite the ending to where she wasn't killed off. She was basically put in a coma because of her fall off one of the buildings in Robotropolis. Yeah. They basically wrote it to where she didn't die, but she was put into a coma. But the only way to make Robotnik and Snively think she was dead was to make it feel like it, to make it as authentic as they could. And the way she was brought back was through a kind of a classic princess-like scenario, sort of similar, if not paying homage to Snow White. Basically, you have Sonic opening up her casket or her rejuvenating chamber that she was put in, sort of to look like a memorial, which ironically was see-through. He opens it up, kisses her on the cheek, tells her he loves her, and she wakes up. So, I know, Tanner, you're thinking, well, that sounds kind of confusing, kind of stupid. Well, how else are you going to bring the character back? Anyway, like I said, you had things like that. And yeah, the comic did at times seem a little overdramatic in the eyes of some, but here's a little bit of a history lesson if you want to know. The comic really didn't start getting so dramatic and dark until after Sonic SatAM, the original 1993 to 1995 cartoon series, was canceled by ABC. See, ABC had a cartoon series, I'm pretty sure you know about this. I'm just checking on my dog out there. But I'm pretty sure you know about this by Googling it. Maybe even watching episodes yourself. Sonic SatAM ran from 1993 to about February 1995 on ABC. And then maybe even longer, I don't really know. But from what I remember, it was up to 95. Because basically ABC had some new people coming in that were taking control of the children's programming, and shows like Sonic SatAM, I think shows like Reboot at the time and a few others didn't fit the mold of what they wanted. Basically, they were doing a slow transition into more of the EI-like programming, and especially with the fact that you had Disney about a year or so away from purchasing and bringing ABC on board to be part of their family, if you will. So, so with that said, it was after around it seems that and I know I'm not the only one, Tanner, but it seems that after this, I noticed, along with everybody else, that the comics started to get more dramatic, as you pointed out, more soap opera, as some fans have said, more dramatic, dark, soap opera, if you will. But I think it's because what Ken Penders and some writers like Carl Bollers and a few others were trying to do was trying to adapt that atmosphere of Sonic SatAM into the comics so that at least fans that still wanted to see more of SatAM or more of a SatAM style like environment and atmosphere could turn to the comics and get that SatAM like feel. So that's why the comics started to get more dramatic and dark and soap opera at the time for a while, because of the fact that whether you like them or not, I think what Penders and Bollers and a few of the other writers were trying to do at the time, before they decided to go off and do their own things, was trying to give us a taste of SatAM again. They were trying to give us that SatAM atmosphere that we had enjoyed watching the cartoon series. So, with that said, this went on for quite some time. Ken Penders and Carl Bollers were on board for quite some time, for quite a while. They ran basically Ken Penders officially his last issue. His last issue was, I think, 159. I think it was 159. And Ken Penders basically had written a story to fix something that Carl Bollers, who I think had already left it, before that, or was let go, had done. You see, Ken Penders was trying to do something, trying to fix something that Carl Bollers had done. And he had basically had to work around until the opportunity presented itself. Now, you might say, well, what did Carl Bollers do? You might ask that. Well, what Carl Bollers did, basically, after 120... Okay, long story short, between issue 50, which was the endgame conclusion, and essentially 122, Sonic and Sally had a relationship. Pretty much, I'm pretty sure you're aware of this. Sonic and Sally had a relationship that everybody liked. Everybody was a fan of. They were. Everybody was. Everybody that understood, why they were a couple, why they were boyfriend, girlfriend, stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying, Tanner, and I'm sure, again, you've heard about this, I'm not saying you didn't have the fans that didn't want Sonic with Sally because they wanted him with Amy and da-da-da. But between 50 and 122, Sally and Sonic's relationship was kind of up and down. It was kind of like, they were together, but not entirely, and there was scenarios and situations that were getting in the way, things like that. So between then, the relationship was kind of rocky, if you will, kind of up and down. Mostly between after 75 and going into the Sonic Adventure adaptation, and after that is when things kind of went up and down a little bit, because Carl Bollers or Ken Penders, one of them, decided to start a love triangle with Sonic, Sally, and Mina Mongoose. You can look her up. Who's another character that's no longer around because of the soft reboot, retcon. You can look her up. And mostly it was kind of a, they decided to come up with that. And long story short, the ups and downs finally sort of came to an end around 122. 121, mostly 122. Or actually 123 to be exact, 123. 123 to be exact, is when it all finally came to an end. Because basically what happens is Sally gets kidnapped by Knack the Weasel, and in the following issue, she finds a way to escape, bumps into Sonic, because Sonic's going off to save her, and this is basically where they both finally realize, you know what, one can't be without the other. And they end up getting back together officially to the point that in the following issue, Sonic sort of pops the question to Sally. Basically, what happens is that Sally and Sonic go to her parents and get her parents' approval for her and Sonic to be engaged, if you will, to be married in the future. So in other words, there's no other person, so no matter what happens, there's no other person that Sally's going to be with besides Sonic. So basically, in issue 124, they become engaged. Of course, the engagement doesn't last too long because about 10 issues later, 134, thanks to Carl Bolas, it's broken off. And whether people like Ken Penders or not, I think Ken Penders was very vocal about the fact that he didn't like what Carl did. He was very vocal at the fact that he didn't like what Carl Bolas had done in 134, which the slap takes place in. He didn't like it, and there were some other things he didn't like either. For example, like I said, his final story, which was around 158 and 159, I believe, Sally's dad was basically so sick he could not continue his kingly duties. He couldn't do it anymore. So basically what happens is Sally has to marry Antoine. She has to marry Antoine because, of course, he's got some kind of connection to the royal family. And even though she doesn't want to do it because she still has feelings for Sonic, she realizes, okay, I got to do this. And long story short, we find out that the Antoine that Sally's going to marry is not the real Antoine. He's not the real Antoine. As a matter of fact, he's Antoine's evil double or evil twin called Patch from the anti-Mobius dimension or zone. So, yeah. Basically, Sonic figures this out, stops Sally's marriage. Well, basically, Sally's been married. Okay. Here's what's crazy. Sally, by the time Sonic figures this out, is already married to Patch. But because Sally's brother, Elias, shows up, and you can find out more about him, just like I say, Google it up, Google the information and all that. You'll find out a lot, basically. Elias shows up, who's been an integral part in the comic since about, I think, several of the final issues of the Knuckles comic, and mostly into the main comic as well, from like the issue 70s and all that to, I think, issue 71 or 72, up until about recently with 247, 246, as well as in the Sonic universe. He's been an integral part, a main cast member, for about 160-something issues, which is a long time. So anyway, Elias basically